Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to ask question number 93 of 2015, standing in my name today's order paper. The question is directed to the Attorney-General and Minister for Finance, Public Enterprise, Public Service and Communications. The question is, Madam, why was e-ticketing for bus passengers halted in March 2013 after it was successfully trialled in 2012 involving students enjoying bus fare subsidies? Why can't e-ticketing be compulsory in urban areas where bus commuters can recharge their e-tickets at mobile outlets and be optional for rural dwellers using bus services? And with the resumption of e-ticketing, can all mobile operators in Fiji be allowed to provide recharge services for e-ticketing?
Thank you. The Honourable Attorney-General.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I love the way the Honourable Prem Singh has one question, but it always divided into three subsections. This was the earlier question last week too. Madam Speaker, the e-ticketing, Madam Speaker, from the onset is a good concept, I must say, because apart from the fact that it is convenient, it also helps government to keep track of the revenue of bus companies. Because there have been claims of understating of revenues. There have been claims by bus operators that there's a lot of pilfering that goes on by bus drivers. And you know, they'll say that wherever e-ticketing has been trialed, they'll see an increase or jump in their revenue by, say, 2/3. So overall, as a concept, it is good. But government is very much concerned, Madam Speaker, when you want to implement such or introduce such new technology, it must be user-friendly, it must be consumer-friendly, and it must be a uniform approach, and there must be competition. Let me tell you, the Honourable Prem Singh has said it was successfully tried. When Vodafone brought it in, you would have actually had to pay $10 at least. In fact, they were citing a higher figure for you to just go and get the card, let alone you top it up with the actual bus fare amount. So just to buy the card, you would have had to pay $10. Government stepped in and said, we'll subsidize it, you need to charge $2. That's what we did, because we are concerned. Because sometimes the bus fare is 70 cents, and when you use it 5 times in a week, that's $3.50. And you buy $10 for the card, and you pay $3.50. Obviously, it's not poor friendly. That was one particular issue with it. Secondly, if you only have one supplier of e-ticketing, for example, Vodafone in this instance, there are many parts in Fiji where there is no Vodafone coverage or network coverage. So when there is no Vodafone network coverage in that area, the shopkeepers, etc., won't sell the recharge cards of Vodafone. They'll sell Digicel only. So if the supplier of e-ticketing for buses is only Vodafone, will they be able to go and recharge their card at a Digicel outlet? Of course not. There is another issue with that. So what government did, we put in place a new law to essentially govern this area of e-ticketing and ensure what we call interoperability. We said we opened up the market. Digicel, in fact, said they wanted to come into the market. There was another company that came in, it was called Bula My Fiji e-ticketing. They wanted to come into the market too, former Fijians living in USA. So we said you must first of all have interoperability. Because if I, for example, some bus companies may choose Vodafone, some may use Digicel. So does it mean I need to have both cards? Of course not. I should have one card that operates in all. What we call front-end user, front end and the back end. So front end is in your cards must be able to be slotted in all the different machines. The back end is the software must be able to talk to each other. Because remember, at the end of the day, there must be reconciliation. Because when you put in the card, the money does not go automatically to the bus company. It's within the system. And then there's reconciliation, whether it's reconciliation after 3 days, 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever the case may be. Now, unfortunately, to date, the e-ticketing suppliers have not been able to reach. We've been having constant meetings with them through government ITC, not ICT. ITC has been meeting up with them, and they've had meetings with them, and I'll tell you who they are. Vodafone is using ZTE from China. Digicel is using Mikrotronic from Czechoslovakia. And Bula My Fiji is creating their own e-ticketing system. So that's the reason why it has not progressed. We obviously want it to progress. The other issue, Madam Speaker, is this. Assuming a grandfather comes from Kandavu visiting his grandchildren in Rawanga, there may not be buses in Kandavu, but when he comes to Rawanga and is going to use the bus, the ticket, e-ticketing, only say 5 times to come into town, we don't want him to pay a lot of money just to get that card. Ultimately, as we find in overseas, the actual ticket, the card itself should not have a value. It should only have a value when you load money into it. That's what we are trying to achieve. Now, the suggestion about having a difference between urban and rural, you can't do that. Tairua buses, Princess Road is urban. You go further down to ACS, it becomes rural. So you can't have that demarcation. It's not as easy as that, because now we have urban, peri-urban, rural areas quite closely linked in. So it does not make sense to say, let's have the demarcation and let's only trial it. The other point that comes out from the honourable member's question is that he's saying that, you know, it provided for subsidy for bus fare for school children. We still have that subsidy. By not having e-ticketing fully implemented does not mean there's no subsidies for school children. These subsidies are still on. Now, I think I've answered all of those questions. I hope that answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary question, the Honourable Anurevande.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for his response on this question. I just want to say that this is another failed project, just like the biodiesel that they initiate with that, from the government. I just want to ask the Minister, how much does it cost the government and that wasted the fund that has been used up in that project? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Attorney-General.
Madam Speaker, as a former civil servant, the honourable member should probably know this. He was in the Ministry of Industry and Trade. E-ticketing, Madam Speaker, was not a government project. E-ticketing was an initiative by the bus companies themselves with Vodafone. We have not put a single cent in it apart from the subsidy on the $2, and we still have not paid Vodafone, I think, the full amount. So, Madam Speaker, as far as we are concerned, it has been no skin of our teeth except the intellectual input. We've had the intellectual input into this process to ensure all Fijians benefit from it.
Thank you. The Honourable Prem Singh.
May I thank the Attorney General for his response, and a very detailed response. The only clarification I have as a supplementary question, Madam, is whilst this consultation with the various groups are going on, what is the time frame you're looking at for some closure?
Thank you. The Honourable Attorney General.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in fact, the law has already been drafted, has already been gazetted. We have not started the commencement date for that. And the reason why that law has been put in place to ensure that the rules of engagement are always there. So, for example, if we have, say, Vodafone and Digicel operating, if one of them pulls out, there is a particular penalty for them, because we don't want that obviously to happen. Because, you know, sometimes commercial interests overtake what is good for the country. So that's why that law has been put in place. As soon as the interoperability commences, as I've said, there have been consultations with them, we're ready to start it. But that interoperability must be there.
Thank you.